Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hello and welcome to our webinar on FaxPulse. We're going to be hosting 2 more of these monthly RightFax showcases in November and December, so please stay tuned till the end of the webinar for info on those next 2 installments. Today's session is going to focus on FaxPulse, which is a powerful reporting and monitoring tool for RightFax. My name is Peter Corna, and I'm a RightFax account rep here at Bit by Bit. And we also have our senior engineer, help desk manager, Bill Venezia, on the line. He'll be here to answer any technical questions you may have at the end of the session. The session is scheduled for 15 minutes, and in this time, we will cover a brief intro to Bit by Bit, some challenges that RightFax administrators have shared with us concerning data gathering and reporting, an intro to FaxPulse and its 2 modules, and how FaxPulse can make administering a RightFax server a whole lot easier. After this, we'll take some questions. To keep things moving quickly, we're going to start everyone in listen-only mode. If you have any questions as we proceed, please type them into the chat window, and we'll get to these at the end of the session. So now, that being said, let's jump into the content. In addition to being fax experts, Bit by Bit is a full-service technology firm. Our paramount goal is to make our clients more productive. We've been in business now for over 30 years. Our physical headquarters is in New York City, but we also have offices in Arizona, Oregon, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Texas, and Vermont. And then in 2016, we opened up our first international office in Indonesia, so we can now more easily help our clients in some different time zones. As many of you know, we have been selling and supporting RightFax since the infancy of fax technology, and there's very little about RightFax we haven't seen or worked with before. We can assist with both on-premise and cloud versions of RightFax, and we're also a certified RightFax training center. We bring our clients expertise in many other areas as well. To keep things moving along in fax focus, though, we're not going to do a deep dive into any of these today, but we did want you to at least see some of the different ways we can be of assistance. We'll make these slides available to you after the presentation, and please reach out to us and call your sales rep if you have any needs surrounding managed IT support services, cloud technology, automation of information exchange, app dev, custom programming, or cybersecurity. So we're guessing you've seen a lot of the challenges that a lot of the RightFax admins we work with are seeing as well. And the big thing we're seeing from a standpoint of data is RightFax allows you to extract a lot of raw data, but as many of you have experienced, it often requires an expert to analyze or make sense of that data once you get the output. So if you're someone who admins RightFax or works with someone who does, we're guessing that you've experienced some of these frustrations here. One of the biggest complaints we hear about from a data standpoint is how do I pull and gather detailed RightFax usage statistics that my manager might be asking me for? And the how do I pull it question dovetails into a deeper question of how do I actually make sense of the data once I have it in my hands? What you're getting from RightFax is a massive raw data dump or a SQL query that generates a very large report. And as I alluded to a moment ago, it's one thing to pull the data, but it's a whole other thing to make sense of it. It's also not easy to identify without a special tool. What are my biggest user groups? What are the key and peak fax periods in the day? And what are the common errors that are recurring on my system and causing the system to slow down and act erratically? Last but not least, we are approached a lot with the frustration over the shortage of useful monitoring and alerting tools. So RightFax gives you some of this functionality out of the box, but many businesses we work with have deeper needs in the area of proactive alerting and also just understanding the general and overall health of the RightFax system. These repeated frustrations led to the development of FaxPulse. FaxPulse is an elegant, easy-to-use reporting and monitoring suite for RightFax. It's comprised of 2 modules, Business Intelligence and monitoring/alerting. In both cases, RightFax pulls the information that's most important to the maintenance of the server and puts it in a useful, easy-to-digest format. The nice thing is it gives you a single place to gather information about your complete RightFax environment. To give you a sense of what FaxPulse can do for you, I'm going to show you I'm going to do a quick intro into each of the two modules, and then we're going to let the screen captures of the system do most of the heavy lifting to give you a sense of what this is all about. So the first of the two modules is the business intelligence, or the reporting. As you're going to see on the following slides, FaxPulse will show you data in three different dimensions: fax volume, system health, and channel utilization. These features will help you with reporting, administration, and system capacity planning for your environment. FaxPulse, what's nice is that it's an enterprise-grade solution and it can report across multiple servers. It will also let you identify trends before they become problems. So if you send, for example, 80% of your faxes out between noon and 2 p.m., FaxPulse is going to let you see this, see that it's your big spike, and it's going to help you configure the system so you can handle this uptick in volume. So first up is the volume dashboard. We're looking at the fax volume. And let's take a look at what some of the information you can get here is. I'm going to do a zoom in on the fax dashboard. And what you're seeing is, in very easy to read information, how many faxes you're getting, the average pages per fax, how long a fax is taking. You're also seeing it over different periods of time. So you have a day, a week, a month, a year, and then the previous period of whatever you were looking at. In terms of filtering, if you look over here, you're going to see there's a whole bunch of different ways you can parse this information. So maybe you just want to look this up by user or by group and see the trends for those particular groups. Maybe you want to see sent or received, or who the fax was sent to by seeing this. If there's a lot of issues with the same number, you can identify where a lot of your problems are coming from. It's also nice. Right now, you're looking at just the 2015 report, but you can do it by year, month, day, or you can set a custom date range. If you look over here, you're going to see volume indicators. So this is really a top 10 list, and you're going to see your power users and what the trends are for these particular users. So that's the volume dashboard. Moving over to the health dashboard. The Health tab shows information on successful and failed faxes. Let's take a closer look there. Now, bear in mind, this is a test or lab server we're looking at, but in this case for the day, there were 3 successful faxes and 2 failed ones, so the failure rate is 40%. The number of transmission attempts per, and again, you can see this for the year, month, week, or day. If you look over here, you can see very useful graphs that are showing you in black and white and report real clearly on some of your indicators. So you can see that the majority of the faxes are inbound. Most of them are a success. And here you're seeing what the failure reasons are. So in most cases, it's a transmission error. In other cases, there's a ring and no answer. In other cases, it's a dead line. So this lets you see, if you're getting a lot of errors, where they may be coming from, and helps you dive in as to where the best place is to focus your efforts in troubleshooting. I'm going to swing over to the third tab, which is the usage dashboard. So usage is showing you information on channel utilization and trends. So taking a closer look at the dashboard, you can see the total transmission was 16. That in this case, it's a 4-channel server. The maximum channels used for the day were 2, so it's 50% utilization. But if you look at the month or the year, you hit it where all 4 channels were in use. Now, for a bigger system, it's even more important how many channels are in play. If you want to get a deeper dive into this, you can look at the channel usage timeline down here. This timeline will show you graphically. Here it's divided into 2-week increments, how often you hit 3 channels, 2 channels, 1 channel. And here are all the different times when you had a day when it hit all 4 channels. Again, you never want to be at maximum channel utilization because if you are, inbound faxes are going to get a busy signal coming in. So this is a real useful tool in helping you figure out how many channels you need to accurately cover your fax volume. If you click on any of these on a live server, you can get very granular detail down to the day or the hour of how many faxes are coming in. So it starts with a big picture view, and you can get very, very granular in there. So that's the business intelligence component of it, these 3 main modules. Next thing we're going to take a look at is the monitoring. So monitoring, FaxPulse will watch the RightFax system, and it lets you know whenever it looks like there's a problem. So real-time monitors are keeping an eye on 50 different data points across multiple RightFax servers. So using Pulse, you're able to track queued faxes and work server requests, server CPU usage and drive space. So if you're running out of space on your server, you're going to know it and be alerted. Channel usage. And it also watches RightFax service status across the entire system. So if services are failing, you can be alerted. So when setting up the system, you're going to set up custom thresholds for each of those metrics. You're going to decide how deep of a queue is okay. You can decide what the CPU usage that's acceptable to be up to, and then you're going to set alerts so that it will alert you anytime any of these thresholds are exceeded or met. So it's giving you a proactive look into the system and letting you know when there are issues before you have your users doing the same thing. So what are the next steps? First of all, it's nice to see a few screen caps, but we really encourage you to see FaxPulse in action. So reach out to your rep and have them schedule a demo. The demos are very compelling and will really give you a look into how Pulse works. Strongly recommend that. Next is if you can share your needs, frustrations, requirements with us, that's how Pulse was developed. So it's knowing what's going on in your system, and your input helps us to plan, for moving forward and to plan feature enhancements. And the third thing is to keep your eye out and save the date for our upcoming mini webinars. We're going to have one in November and one in December. So on November 18th, we're going to be covering RightFax for the remote worker. And in December, we're going to talk about integrating MFPs with your RightFax system. So that is the formal part of the presentation. We did get a few questions. Let's take a look, and if there's any questions you haven't thought about up till now, enter them in that area, and we'll be happy to address them. So let's take a look what we have. First question, I have multiple RightFax servers. Do I need to buy an instance of FaxPulse for each environment, or can I have one instance of FaxPulse for the entire enterprise? That one's pretty easy. Single instance of FaxPulse will cover the entire enterprise, and you can, there are a couple of different licensing models you can use depending on how many SWIDs you have and how many you're looking at, but you only need one instance of Pulse. Let's see what else we have. Does FaxPulse run on the RightFax server itself? No, and that's a good question. FaxPulse does require its own dedicated server. It is a bit of a resource hog, so you wouldn't want, if you're going to rebooting FaxPulse, for that to affect having to touch your RightFax server. So that runs on a parallel box. Next question, we have a large subset of delegate users. Will FaxPulse report on them? Bill Venezia, are you on? Can you answer that one?
Sure. So as part of the FaxPulse offering, they do have a delegate reporting tool. So you can actually determine what account each person is a delegate of. So that is part of the FaxPulse offering.
Okay. Next question. We use Tivoli company-wide for monitoring and alerting on all systems. What does FaxPulse bring that Tivoli doesn't? I guess they're asking,
Yep.
Where does Pulse come in handy here?
Sure. So like Tivoli, or whatever the thing is, I can never pronounce the name right. It can monitor the CPU and the memory utilization of the server, and even if the services are started or stopped. Where it comes short and FaxPulse takes over is on FaxPulse it can monitor the amount of channels that are active at a given time and alert you if you are 80-90% utilized. It can let you know if there is a work server buildup. So if work requests start slowing down, you can be notified of a work request slowdown, and you can be notified of a buildup of conversion events, as well as the services. So it can tell you when there's high CPU and if the services are started and stopped. So it's able to monitor the specific RightFax components within RightFax, where external monitoring can only tell you about the CPU, services, and hard drive.
Okay, excellent. That is all the questions I see now. Last call. Does anyone else have any other questions they'd like to add? We'll give 10 seconds. Survey says. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. We are going to send you out these slides so you have them. Please reach out to us for a demo, and we really appreciate your time today. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. Hope to see you on the next one.